Hi there. Welcome to Jeff's Frame of Mind. I'm Jeff Broomfield, and this is the talk that I give to my clients before their QHHT experience. And they tell me that they experience several revelations and breakthroughs just from this talk alone before we even get to the hypnosis. And it's really designed to be that way. These frames are designed to loosen up your model of the world and expand your consciousness in preparation for your QHHT experience. These frames will open your eyes so that you can see your world from a whole new perspective. My clients tell me that they suddenly understand why they're struggling in life, or with relationships, or with money. It's like putting on a pair of magic glasses and suddenly you can see why things are as they are. And I can see the expression on their faces when they finally do get it. By watching this video, you will increase your vibration and you'll be able to understand yourself in such a way that you'll be able to improve your connection with your higher self and with your guides. The frames you're about to learn are meant to help you understand things from an empowering point of view. Not meant to be the truth or to replace your beliefs. You can just try these frames out and see how they look. And you can decide what you want to believe later. And that's the thing about beliefs. It doesn't matter if your beliefs are right or wrong. It only matters if your beliefs are empowering you or if they're taking your power away. Henry Ford said that whether you believe that you can do a thing or that you believe that you cannot, you are correct. And it was Albert Einstein that said, you cannot solve a problem using the same thinking that created the problem. So these frames are the tools that will help you to think differently so that you can evolve and expand your consciousness and solve your problems and live life to your fullest potential. Cause and effect. Or as you can see how it's written out here, cause is over effect. So cause is greater than effect. And these are really two different ways that you can live your life. There's people who live at cause, and there's people who live at effect. And so if you're someone who lives at cause in life, then you understand that you are the cause of all the results that you have in your life. So the reality that you have, you created it. Now, if you live at effect, then everything happens to you and you are at effect of other things in your life. And so if you've got success and you're a cause and you say you caused that success, or if you've got failure and you say that you caused that failure, then you are living at cause. If you have excuses or reasons for not having what you want, for not having success, then you're living at effect. And you can tell when people are at effect when they have a lot of reasons and they beat the drum of all the things that happen to them and all the reason and excuses that they can't have what they want. I can't do it. Joe's barber said that it's not possible to do this kind of a thing. Or maybe it was a teacher that told you that you can't do this, or your mom won't let you, or your wife said you can't do this, or the government won't let you, or the product that you're trying to sell, it's not good enough. The economy, there's a problem with the economy, so you can't make any sales in this kind of economy. And there's all kinds of excuses that you have when you are at effect. When you're at the effect of others, then you have no control, and so what's the sense of even trying, right? When you live at cause, though, you understand that you're the one who caused that situation. And so if you're the one who caused it, then you have control. And you understand, cause and effect, again, that for every effect that you have, that there's a cause that caused it. And if you're the cause of it, then you're in control of yourself so that you can control what you did to make sure that you don't cause that anymore. And so you look at all the things that you did to lead up to that result that you got, and you check each one of them to see what caused the result that you didn't like. And so you modify your strategy, and at the end, you check to see what your result is. And if your result is what you want this time, then now you've got a good strategy. And you can only do that if you take ownership and say, oh, I don't like that result that I'm getting. I caused that result. And so being the cause of the result, then I can manipulate what I've done in order to get a different result, the kind of result that I want to get. And I can keep manipulating my behaviors, my strategies, until I get the result that I truly want to get. If I'm at effect, though, there's nothing I can do. I'm just at effect of others, and it's always up to somebody else to do something before I can get what I need. And so I put a bunch of people who are at effect will put a bunch of different conditions in line before they're able to do something that they think that they want to do. And so they might have to ask permission of somebody, or they might have to wait until they've learned something, or they've achieved a certain status before they can move on and do that thing that they want to do. And there's always something that's holding them back, some reason or an excuse, and won't let them do what it is that they really, truly want to do. So it's really a place of being a victim. So you're a victim. And it's okay to be a victim. Most people are at that. Most people view life through the lens of being at effect. And they're victims, and they're subject to the will of other people. So it's the market conditions, it's the corporations and the companies that have done this thing to you. It's always somebody else that's done it and won't allow you to live the kind of life that you actually truly want to live. And so in the self-development world, and in any hypnosis or anything, the only way that you can make change in your life is if you move from being at effect to being at cause. And we can look at it as if, we're going to take a stick like this. So here's this stick, and it's got two ends on it. And this end here, this is the handle. This is the end that you can use. If you use this as a walking stick, then this is the best end to use for the handle. Oh, and this end here, well, that's the best end for poking at the ground. Or if you're going to use this as a weapon, of course, this is the best end to use as a handle. And then this end here, right, that's the poker end. So this is the good end of the stick. This is the end that you want to be hanging on to. This is that cause. So if you're hanging on to this end of the stick, you're at cause, right? And you're controlling the stick. Whereas if you're at this end of the stick, you're holding the other end of the stick, somebody else is holding on to that end of the stick. And who is that? It's always other people. And they're poking your buttons. They're pushing your buttons and controlling you when you're at effect in life. So it's your choice. You can choose to be at cause in your life, or you can choose to be at effect. And this is the shitty end of the stick. If you choose to hold on to this end of the stick, you're going to continue to get more and more of that. If you choose to hang on to this end of the stick and live at cause, then that's when you can create change in your life and start to get the results that you truly want to get in your life. And there's one thing that's important to know about cause and effect, is that everybody's living at cause. And living at effect is just an illusion. And it's an excuse for poor results. So if you want to make change in your life, make the decision. Do you want to be at cause, or do you want to be at effect in life? Which end of the stick do you want to hold on to? Cause or effect? What is trance? I'll begin by asking the question, what was the color of your bedroom when you were 10 years old? Okay. So, in order to figure out and remember the color of your bedroom when you were 10 years old, you would have had to go back into long-term memory. And in doing so, your eyeballs would actually went up and to one side, and that would indicate that you were accessing your long-term memory, and that's a trance. So you would have slipped into a micro trance right there to remember the color of your bedroom when you were 10. Another trance is when you're driving. So if you've ever driven somewhere and it's like you're on autopilot and you can't remember when you get to your destination the actual trip that you took to get there. Your conscious mind was engaged in something else, and your unconscious mind was driving. So that was a trance state. Another trance is when you are watching TV. So if you're watching TV, you have to sit in a trance, and you're in a state of relaxation. And at the same time, you have to suspend disbelief. If you're watching a TV show, say you're watching Superman, and some guy running around in tights and a cape, flying, he can get shot by bullets and it doesn't hurt him and stuff. And it's like, you have to suspend disbelief in order to watch the show and actually enjoy it. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there critically picking it apart. I don't believe that wouldn't happen. So in order to enjoy watching TV, you have to suspend your disbelief and just allow the show to happen and enjoy it. Another time that you're in a trance is, say you're driving and you're listening to music. And then you're coming up to your exit, or you're coming up to a street sign, and you have to pay attention and look for the street sign. And so you find yourself turning down the radio so that you can look for the street sign or your exit. And that's because our conscious mind cannot multitask. And so since we can't multitask, we can't listen to the music. Listening to music is a trance, especially if you're driving. You've got your driving trance going and your conscious mind's listening to the music. So that's a trance all in itself. Now what you want to do is you want your unconscious mind to drive, and you want your conscious mind to look for the street. And we can't multitask and listen to the music and look for the street at the same time. So that's why we have to turn the music down. Our unconscious mind, though, that's a multitasker. And we'll get into that later. So if you're golfing, if you are golfing and you go out and you practice over and over and over again, and you get your swing down, and you have to include your mental state. So in this state of mind, you have not only your mind in a certain state, But also you have to have your body in a certain position, in a certain state, and you have to have your swing and your movement and your momentum work in such a way, and it all flows together. And that's a trance. So when a golfer is in his groove and he's getting his swing going, this is when you call it, you're in the zone. Okay, and so when he's in the groove and he's in the zone and he makes that perfect swing, then he gets a good shot. So he has to get that into the trance before he takes that shot. And it's the same thing if you're in baseball. In drumming, that's another area where you start off consciously and you work with one limb at a time, and you start working on a beat and you work on that, and it takes hundreds, thousands of hours to get really smooth and flexible on a drum kit with these beats. And you start with one limb at a time, and it's all conscious. And after a while, you train your body, and then your body just takes over, and your conscious mind no longer has to be involved in the process. When I'm drumming, of course, the conscious mind is keeping track of where we are in the song. It's counting, is what it does. And so that's another trance that I'm in while I'm playing the drums. And when I'm in that trance and my subconscious, the unconscious mind, is in control and just doing its thing, where the conscious mind is not actually in charge, it's there participating, taking its part. So that's a trance that I'm in for that. If you ever lost your keys, then it's likely that you were in a trance when you put your keys down, and then when you're looking for your keys, you're no longer in that same trance that you were when you put your keys down. Just the other day I lost my phone. I couldn't find my phone anywhere. And I ran around the house looking for my phone, and it was my third lap around all my usual places where I might have put it. And I was upstairs at one end of the house, and I finally realized what had happened. I was playing the game of can't find. So I had entered into a can't find trance. And so when you're in a can't find trance and you're running around looking for something, you can't find it, because you actually adjust your vision and your eyesights so that even if that item was right in front of you, then you can't see it, because your vision won't allow you to see it. And so it diverts you and makes sure that you can't see that item. So once I figured that out, then I asked the right question, and I said, how do I find my phone? And so as this thought process is going, and by the time that I ask, how do I find, and it's like I noticed in the distance this black line. And this is, I'm in one room, and it's down a hallway, across through the living room, and it's in the mud room, sitting beside the door on its side, so it's just a thin line. And as I ask the question, it's coming into focus for me. And so that's my how do I find trance. And as I was asking the question, my body had moved me and drew my focus to that phone, and it was coming into focus clearer and clearer as I asked the question. And that is by finding, how do I find my phone trance? Now, the other trance I had was my can't find trance. I have a losing trance. There's all kinds of different trances that you can enter into, and you enter into each one of them on purpose. So anytime you can't remember something, that is a trance, and you're in the wrong kind of trance because you're in a can't remember trance, and so you would have to switch and move over to a how do I remember that trance. And once you allow the memory to happen and you don't block it, then it will just flow and it'll just happen for you. So really we have trances for just about everything that we do. And so trances are just specific states of mind. So in hypnosis, we just have a specific state of mind that we go into, in order to achieve hypnosis. Jeff's frame of mind. Okay, so for this one here, we're going to talk about your conscious mind. That's this black circle here, CM is conscious mind. And your unconscious mind, which is this bigger circle here, and it has UM. So it's the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Okay, and so the conscious mind is the part of you that's aware at this present moment, here and now, and the unconscious mind is everything that is outside of that awareness. Like right now, you're not aware of the feeling of the bottom of your feet. And when I said that, your awareness shifted to the bottom of your feet, and you're not aware of your breathing in this moment. Now you are. And so that's the difference between the conscious and the unconscious mind. So when you're not thinking about it, it's unconscious. And so think of it like a flashlight. Your conscious mind is a flashlight, and you're in a great big warehouse somewhere. And it's like endless. And so you got this flashlight, and you can't see the outside walls, and you can go on. It seems to go on forever. But everything that you shine the flashlight on, you're aware of that. So the room is completely dark. And in that darkness is your unconscious mind. So your flashlight, you can shine that on whatever you want. So if you're thinking about what you feel like at the bottom of your feet right now, then you shift your focus to that. And when you don't want to think about that, you shift your focus to something else. And that's how we work. So that's the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And on here as well, we have the CF. So that's the actual black line itself, and you can see that it's perforated, and that's because it's like a filter. Or think of it like a filing cabinet. So you've got this great big long filing cabinet, and it's got files on absolutely everything that you can think of, every belief that you might have. So am I good enough? And you've got a file, and you pull that out, and you keep a record of whether or not you think that you're good enough. Am I clumsy? Some people are, some people are not. So everybody's going to have a different folder with different evidence to back up their belief of what they believe themselves to be. Am I smart? Am I strong? Is the sky blue? Does pineapple belong on pizza? So we have a file for absolutely everything, and this too is where confirmation bias comes in, when we believe something to be true, and so we look for all the evidence to back that up. And so this filing cabinet is all the information that you believe to be true. And so when somebody communicates something to you, it has to go through this filter system first, and you decide whether or not you're going to accept or reject that information based on what's in that file there. So think of this as a German Shepherd, a guard dog, and he's going to protect you and make sure that all the information that comes in conforms to your beliefs already. So he wants to make sure that it's friendly. And so everybody who comes to the door and wants access there and comes in, hey, the sky is green. Okay, and so that information comes into you, and your guard dog is going to sniff it out. He's going to have a look at your file and say, nope, it's blue. And he's going to bark, woof, woof, and he's going to scare them off, and he's not going to let them in. So that's the guard dog. The guard dog is your critical faculty. And it could be a German Shepherd, you can make it a Doberman, some people have a Chihuahua. So whatever kind of dog that you feel comfortable with, that's your guard dog. And so your guard dog protects you, and he makes sure that you're safe all the time. And so when any information comes to you, you want to make sure that everything's cool. So if you want to watch TV, the dog has to settle down and go for a nap while you're watching TV. So that's where you are. You're suspending disbelief. And so your guard dog is guarding your beliefs. So when he takes a rest and he takes a nap, then you suspend your disbelief. Now, at any second, anytime something happens that goes outside to the realm of possibility for you, your guard dog can wake up. Think of about a cheese wrapper. And the dog's the other end of the house, maybe on a different floor even, and you open up a cheese wrapper, and the next thing you know, the dog's right there, drooling, looking for his share of the cheese. So The dog is there to protect you at any time, and the guard dog as well is going to make sure that he's going to protect you. So if you got some bones buried in the backyard, he's not going to go and dig them up and come and show them to me. So the guard dog is there to protect you and make sure that you are safe. So this file cabinet and all this information here is really your imprint of who you believe yourself to be. So it's your ego. Okay, so back to here again. So the black line represents your guard dog, and he's going to filter all the information that comes through and make sure everything's safe before it comes into this zone here, right? That's the unconscious mind. And so when you are, say you're doing an exam, you're writing an exam, you've studied for this thing, you know all the answers. But as you sit there writing it, you can't remember anything. And so what's happened here is that you're sitting in this area here, and the information is here. So you've blocked off access to your unconscious mind because you're in fear. Anxiety is a fear-based emotion, and it's part of your sympathetic response. And so when you're in sympathetic mode, you restrict yourself mostly to what's going on in here. So your whole body function changes in order to adapt to this. And so if you calm down and relax, and you put yourself in the parasympathetic mode, and you can just do a simple breathing exercise to get yourself there. And when you do that, you expand your conscious awareness so that you have access to your long-term memory. So it's stored at the unconscious level, and so that's where you need to access that information. And so when you went and looked to your room, when you're 10 years old, you went from here and you popped into this area here and you came back. So that was a micro trance. Each one of these things is a trance. Oh, another way of looking at that is that if you're looking at a computer, so this is your RAM and this is your hard drive. And so you can't keep a whole lot of information in your RAM. And so if you want to get any information that's in long-term storage, you have to have that connection to your long-term storage. And so by thinning that line, by allowing your guard dog to have a nap and go to sleep, by thinning that line and improving the connection between these two areas, then that will allow you to increase your consciousness. And that's what this is all about. So you become more of yourself and you expand your conscious awareness into this whole part. So when you're in anxiety, you're just this. And when you are fully you, then you are this whole area here. And this is the area where we do most of our hypnosis work. So if I was going to do some timeline therapy with you, then this is the area, this is the level of trance that we would utilize for that. Now, with QHHT, that's quantum healing hypnosis technique, we go a little bit deeper there, and we go and we visit the soul, and we take the soul's journey, and so that becomes more of you. So you expand your consciousness when you're in this state here, and it becomes so much more. So this is your soul. So if you think of it this way, you've got your mind, body, and soul. And when all three of those are connected and in harmony, and that's when you're at your optimal strength, when all these things are functioning together in harmony, and your soul and your body and your mind are all working together. Now, you'll notice here, we have some corners there, right? So that's a circle, right? And so that means this extends into the non-physical. It doesn't fit all on the sheet, right? And that also means here with these corners here that there's another circle out there beyond all this. And that there is what we're going to call your subconscious mind. So when we're doing this work, when we're doing this hypnosis and you're in deep, they refer to themselves as they talking through you. And when they do that, they are you can talk about them and call them whatever you want to. Dolores Cannon called them the subconscious mind. Some people call it the soul group, the higher self. Whatever that is there, that consciousness that's tapped into everything and has access to infinite knowledge, that part of you, that's when they say that we're all one, this is that connection where you're part of the one. And so that's another level of hypnosis that we get into when we're doing QHHT, and that we do some pretty amazing work at that level of hypnosis. So if we go back to here and we look, and when you're anxious, when you're in fear, when you're angry, you're stuck in this little area here. You don't have a whole lot of access to the rest of you, your brain power. And so the more you expand outwards, the more you expand your consciousness, and the more you can communicate with your spirits and your guides and that type of thing. Now, when some people are in trance, now the thing to remember here is that when you have your conscious mind and it is aware of what it is aware of. So if I close my eyes, you go ahead and close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, what you're aware of consciously is what you're aware of consciously at that moment. And depending on where you are, you'll have access to different information. But when you close your eyes and how you feel, your conscious mind is, unless you go really, really deep in a state we call somnambulistic, if you go there, then, and some clients do, and they don't have any memory of the session. They answer all the questions, they're there, but they don't have any memory of what's going on. That's the deepest level. But most people are aware of what's going on. And so when you're aware and you're going through your past life, your consciousness has expanded. Now, if you start saying something like, oh, I'm just here, I'm sitting in this room, that's what your conscious mind is doing. It is here regardless of what's going on. Unless it goes to sleep, and that only happens for some people, unless it goes to sleep, it's going to be consciously aware of what's going on. So when you're in your trance, everybody does it differently. And so some people will download, it's like they download the information, somebody's talking to them and they translate it. Some people see things, so they see the pictures and they tell you what the pictures are that they see. Some people just know, so they just allow themselves to talk and the information's there. Other people, it's like they're totally channeling, and this other person is just talking through them. It's them, and they might even feel like they're making it up, but they're just allowing it to happen and allowing it to flow through them. So when you're doing this, the best thing that you can do is say the very first thing comes to mind, because that's what's going on. So the very first thing comes to mind, and then you just give it as much detail and describe it in as much detail as you can to bring it to life. And the more you describe it, the more detail and the more to life that it'll become. And so talk, and talk. The more description that you can have, the better you'll be able to have on the recording to hear yourself later. Now, depending on what trance that you're in, a lot of trances feel the same and you don't recognize that you're in a trance. You don't even realize that you go into all these different trances. And every time you go to a memory, you have to go into a microtrance. Every time that you have to access information, you go into a microtrance. Every time you picture something, you have to look in your mind and you have to see that image. We have to translate the information that comes from our conscious mind into words. And the unconscious mind is dealing with pictures and feeding me this information right now, and I'm just openly translating that to you. That's how we all function and work. And so when you're in trance and you're in a past life, it works the same way. It's you, it's your body, it's your past life. This is an expanded version of you. So you have access to more information. You have access to your past lives. And your subconscious mind will take you into that past life. And when you are there, your conscious mind will still be your conscious mind. And it will still be aware of what it is aware of. When you're laying in that room, sitting, and you're on the couch, and your eyes are closed, you're still there. It's going to be there. And the more that you are aware of that consciousness, the more that that part of you is awake. And the less that you're aware of, and some people get so deep that they don't remember their session. It's called somnambulistic state. And I get quite a few people that go that deep that they can't remember. Now, most people actually remember their whole session. And so when you're aware and you're conscious of it, the thing is allowing it to happen, allowing the communication, allowing the information to just flow through you without questioning it. So if you want to translate the information and bring it through you, you can do that. Or if you just want to channel the information and allow them to communicate through you, that's the best way to do it. So how do we expand our consciousness from here to here? So the guard dog really, that's fear. Okay, so when you're in fear, you are in sympathetic nervous system. That is fight or flight. And what's happening is that you are in this mode that is made for running or fighting because you're at danger. And so when you're in there, then it changes how you function. It changes the chemicals that it distributes around your body. It changes your blood flow. It shuts off your immunity. It does all kinds of stuff like that to you. And so that's when you're in fear, and that's in here. And so when you want to be more, then you increase your conscious awareness, and you can do that through your breathing. So your breathing actually accompanies each state, and when you control your breathing, you can shift your state. So the more control you are of your breath, then the easier it is for you to control your mental states. And so this one here I'm going to teach you is 4-4-8 breathing. So inhale for a 4, hold for 4, and then exhale for an 8 count. And you need to count along in your head, because what that does is it distracts your conscious mind and gives it something to do. So this is like a meditation when you do this as well. And so you do the breathing, you do the counting, and you breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So as long as you use your diaphragm, so you push your diaphragm down and fill your belly with air. So this is also the best way to bring you into the now and to ground and center you, and the best state for learning, and the best way to expand your consciousness. Okay, so we'll do the breathing exercise now so that you can feel this. And I'm going to do it along with you. I've pre-recorded this. Be ready to inhale in 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Okay. So now you should feel much calmer after that. That entirely shifts your consciousness into sympathetic. So it brings you into stasis, and it brings you right in the middle. So now from here you can decide what to do, and you can choose what thoughts that you have, and that'll get you to your emotions. And you want to get a different emotion, you can go to a memory and remember a time you felt like you want to feel, and you can bring that emotional state back, and you can feel like that. If you want to laugh, well, you just think about a joke and you're right there. And so if you want to go back to thinking about fearful stuff, well, then maybe you'll go to Facebook and scroll through your news feed. And so this is an easy way. You feel yourself getting off, and you can breathe again. So you can do this as often as you need to recenter and refocus yourself. And it's a good idea to do this for 10 minutes, 3 times a day. And that will help to retrain your breathing and help you to focus. And it's just like meditating, especially when you do the counting with it. And it retrains you to do the nose breathing, and the more you can breathe through your nose, the more that you protect yourself. Perception is projection. So with our critical faculty, keeping a blueprint of who we believe ourselves to be, that's a two-way blueprint. So everything coming out and everything coming in is subjected to this filter. So when we're looking at our outside world, we are judging the outside world based on that same criteria that we judge ourselves on. And so we judge others by the same standards that we judge ourselves by. So how a person treats other people is an indication of how they treat themselves inside about those things. If somebody's lashing out at somebody and calling them names, it's because that reminds them of a certain aspect of them, and that's how they treated that aspect of themselves, and they still do. Whenever that side of them rears its ugly head, then they attack it just like they do externally. They attack it the same way inside their head. And so any judgment that you pass on another person is a mirror of yourself. And so when you look at them and you think something that is negative about another person, then what you're not liking about them is an aspect of yourself that your subconscious mind wants you to become aware of, so that you can deal with the trauma that's created the problem in the first place, so that you can release that trauma and allow that part of yourself to be okay. And so what happens is that we face traumas. So when we're out in the world and we're being ourselves, and then somebody comes along and attacks us, and they hurt our true self. And so what we do is we have a fear-based reaction, and we put up a guard to protect that part of ourselves that they hurt. And so we put that guard up, and the first time that it happens is really the age that you pin that reaction to, and it stays the same throughout life. And so you put up this guard, and you stop and protect yourself in that same way every time that same insult comes to you. And so that is our light that we're covering up, and each time we get one of these things, we put up a new defense strategy to stop people from hurting that piece of us. And they might be telling us that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, we're not strong enough, we're not fast enough, we're not obedient enough. Whatever they're telling us, those things about ourselves, and then we put our guards up and we deal with it in a specific way. And then when somebody else is displaying that aspect of ourselves that we had to work on, and they're openly being that way that we don't like, and so we lash out at those people. And so that's how we project on the outside world. And so we can only see ourselves in other people. So that's a good tool to use to see where you are with your personal development. And if somebody can say something to you that gets you angry, then that is something about yourself that you are supposed to deal with and fix that problem. Because they shouldn't be able to push your buttons like that. You're giving them control of your emotional states every time that happens. You're giving them the controlling end of the stick, and you're allowing them to poke those buttons on you and making you react. So then you're not in control of yourself. So the empowering position is to actually deal with those things so that when somebody says something to you, it no longer bothers you. So that's the best way to deal with those things. So all judgment is the domain of fear. So every time you're passing judgment on somebody, it's a fear-based reaction, and it's a trauma that you need to deal with. And the only relationship that we truly have is our relationships with ourselves. That's the only relationship that really matters. And all the other relationships that we have is a reflection of that relationship that we have with ourselves. And different people out there, they represent different aspects of ourself. And so they're like our archetypes, and we project those archetypes on different people that we bring into our lives. We're talking earlier about the file cabinet. And so we've got a file on all kinds of stuff, and one of them files is whether or not we're clumsy. And so where that started out is when we were young, and say we knocked over a glass of milk. And then Mom said, you're clumsy. Maybe even yelled at us, maybe even sent us to our room to think about it. And so what we do is we think about being clumsy. And we really put our efforts into determining whether or not that's true. Sometimes we just reject that and it's a done deal. But when we accept that as a possibility for ourselves, then we go about confirming whether or not it's true. And so we start looking for it. And so next thing you know, we drop something and we say, oh wait, maybe we are clumsy. And then a little bit later we trip when we're walking. And then that really starts to solidify this idea that we are clumsy. And so that adds additional items onto your list in your file that confirm you're clumsy. And so the more that happens to you, and the more you think about it, the more you attract more of that into your life, and then you become clumsy for the rest of your life. And that's the way a lot of things are when somebody says that we're not good enough, and we're not smart enough, and we're not strong enough. And we set out to prove whether or not they're right or wrong. Sometimes we just prove people wrong, and we go the opposite way. So it depends on whether or not you accept or reject those things that these people have said to you. When we accept these things as possibly true, and then we start looking for them, and then it's like confirmation bias. We bring more and more of that into our lives so that we can prove ourselves to be true, because really we like to be right. We like to know ourselves, we like to think that we know ourselves, and we like to prove ourselves to be right as often as we can. Now, another thing we notice when we are young and we're interacting with our world is we notice that we're in control of other people's emotions. And as we get older and we start to understand things more, and people will actually tell us that we make them feel certain ways. We might make them sad, we might make them happy, we might make them angry, we might make them laugh. And so we can see, and they actually feedback and tell us that we control their emotions in some way. And so that's how we learn. We figure that we do things and that equals their emotional state. And our parents, when they're teaching us and training us, they'll even tell us that if we don't do that, then they're going to feel a certain way. So if we don't carry out a task, they're going to get angry and maybe reprimand us. They might yell at us, who knows what they're going to do, but we are in control of their emotional states based on our behaviors, the things that we say and do. And so what we have to do is we have to perform in a certain way in order to control their emotional states. And then we can also see within ourselves that we also can feel that. When other people do certain things, we can feel our emotions change. And we can really feel it when somebody makes us angry, when somebody makes us laugh, or somebody makes us happy, or somebody makes us feel like we're in love. Those are all things that we allow other people to control our emotions, and we put all these conditions on our feelings on what other people do for us. So we can't just decide to be happy. That's just not a thing. We can't decide to be happy. It's outside of us. We need to manipulate this person over here to do that certain thing. And when they're in their good mood, they'll do that thing for us that we need so that we can now feel happy. And that's the way we work in society, is we believe that our stuff is outside of us and we have to rely on other people to perform in a certain way and meet all these criteria for us, and then we can feel happy, or then we can feel love. So when we have that happening, what we have to do is manipulate other people. And we have to control their emotional states. And when we control their emotional states, they'll do the thing that we need them to do for us. So this is inside out. Our emotions are outside of us. And this is the way we've been taught. And really, we're not taught any different. So we're not responsible for our own emotional states. And nobody ever teaches us how to control those emotions. Of course not, because that's how we control and manipulate each other. So we want to make other people feel happy. When we're angry, we want to bring them into our space too, so we want to make them angry, piss them off or something. And that brings us to the narcissist-empath dynamic. This is a codependent relationship where there's one person who is narcissistic with no empathy, and then on the other side you've got an empathic person with no narcissism. So one of them is the transmitter and the other one is a receiver. So the empath is like a transmitter and the narcissist is the receiver. So the empath could be looked at as the giver and the narcissist as the taker. And so what that means is that both of these people have the love outside of them. Okay, and so the empath is the one that's always giving love and doing things and performing things and telling the narcissist a bunch of things so that they feel good about themselves and they'll feel loved, and then in return the narcissist will do something for them. And so the empath is always doing things for the narcissist, and the narcissist isn't that kind of a person, so they're not doing these things back. Of course, the empath thinks that the narcissist should be doing things back for them, but it doesn't work that way, because these two people are totally different people and they work in a different way. Now, what you're supposed to do, because perception is projection, you've got a bunch of different things that make up who the empath is and a bunch of different things that make up who the narcissist is. And so all these different qualities, these are the qualities that are the good qualities, and we look at the other person and we see those things, and our unconscious mind really wants us to bring those qualities out in ourselves. But what we do is we're attracted to this other person instead. And so we bring these two aspects together. This person is our soulmate, and they complete us. And so what we're believing is that, we're here and there, and we bring us together, and we equals this, and we're level. But that's not really what happens. We still got two unbalanced people that come together, and they're very different. And what happens is after a while, we decide that those aspects that we admired and we loved about them, those are the things in us that we're suppressing. And so what we start to do is we start to suppress them the same way we do with ourselves. We try to suppress those aspects of them. And so those things that we liked about them, so we keep them to be, we're trying to make them to be more like us. And that never works. So the empath's always trying to change the narcissist, and the narcissist is always trying to reprimand and keep the empath in line. Both of them think that they're messed up, and they try to fix each other in the way that they can. And the tactics that they use are pretty dysfunctional, because we're trying to manipulate each other to get them to be a certain way. And so it ends up being a two-way street when we're trying to manipulate each other back and forth. And so we're both taking advantage of each other in this relationship. And so what really needs to happen is that we need to come together. We need to sort out those things in ourselves. And so we need to be okay with that. Narcissism in our, like an empath, all those narcissistic qualities, we need to start being okay with them. We need to start putting ourselves first in certain circumstances. We need to look after ourselves. Because when we look after ourselves, then we're more capable of looking after other people. But quite often we start looking after other people, we neglect ourselves, and then we're not really in a good spot to be helping other people. And what we're really actually doing is we're trying to control and manipulate those other people and make them feel the way that we want to, when in actual reality, that's not what they're looking for. Now, the problem that happens when we put love outside of ourselves is that we have to manipulate other people in order for us to feel love. And in reality, that's not really what love is. Because what love is our actual vibration. So we have an energetic being inside of us. And that energetic being is a pure white light, and it's a vibration. And so we are the vibration of love. And so in our pure essence, that's what we are. And that's what our inner being is pure love. And so love is about being that. It's about being in alignment with ourselves. And it's about stepping in to that being and being okay with our inner being, our true authentic self, with no judgments of ourselves. So that's what unconditional love. Unconditional love is unconditional love of the self. Because when you love yourself, then you're not judging other people. When you judge other people, it's a sign of a place where you're not loving yourself. And so when you get rid of all that judgment and everything, and you allow yourself to be you, then you are your true authentic self, and you are in the vibration of love. And that's what love is. It's a vibration. And so you step into the vibration, and you live at that vibration, and you radiate that love outwards. It's not something you do for other people. It's not something that you can give to other people. Those are conditions that other people place. They're giving away their power. And so the best thing that we can do for ourselves in the world is to step into our own power, to step into our own love, and to be that, let our inner being shine through. And as we do that, as we come from a place of love, and then we radiate and we shine outwards to the rest of the world, then that is how we share our love with other people. And this is one of the things that we do in the QHHT session. And it's when your subconscious mind is forward and we're talking to your subconscious mind. And I'll ask if your subconscious will take you into your light. And of course I'll ask you if you want this when you're conscious as well. And if everybody says yes, then what we'll do is we'll take you into your light. And so your subconscious mind will lead you there and show you how you can step into that emotion and feel that emotion at any given time that you want. So that vibration will be within you. So you'll take your love switch from outside of you and bring it inside of yourself. And, well, you really need the QHHT session. You need the hypnosis in order to be able to do that. Now, again, that's putting another limitation on things. You can actually do that yourself. It's a choice. You can choose to do that yourself, and you can choose to do that in this moment right now and just step into that place and just live there for the rest of your life. Some people need the hypnosis. So if you need the QHHT hypnosis, then contact me, look me up, and we'll get you set up with your own QHHT experience where you too can find your purpose, your passion, and you can find your love inside of yourself, and you can get the answer to any question that you have. So now we're going to talk briefly about the law of attraction. And your vibration is your point of attraction. And so what level you're vibrating at, if you've got a low vibration, then that vibration is going to attract more low vibrations to you. And if you have a high vibration, you're going to attract more positive high vibrational stuff into your life. And so at every moment when we're reacting to our world, we're letting the universe know what we do like and what we don't like in our life. And so all we have to do is we have to point out the stuff that we do like and the stuff that we don't like. And the stuff that we don't like, then if you don't like this, then you want the exact opposite of that. And so these are the conditions that we set out, and that's to our being. Our universe is our being. And so when we tell ourselves that these are the conditions of the things we do and we don't want, so once we tell the universe about what we do and don't want, it sets out to create the new reality for us. So we're manifesting all the time. And so what we receive in the reality that we manifest is based on our vibrational level. And so if we're vibrating that we don't have something, then we're going to bring more not having of that thing. And it's not really about things, because it's not, our energy is not about material stuff. It's more about our feelings and stuff. And so it's not about the acquiring of things. It's about what that thing will get you and what you're supposed to feel like when you get that thing. And so when you come at it from the point of attraction, where if you want some money and you think that money is going to give you freedom and security, then the vibration that you need to attract freedom and security into your life is the vibration of freedom and security. And then that'll attract freedom and security into your life. And so the story that you're telling people, and I hear people telling their story all the time. And we believe that our story is a narrative. We're telling the news of our life. This is the way our life is, and these are all the things that happen in our life. And that's common sense, yeah, that you're narrating that stuff. And what we're really doing at the same time is we're manifesting more of that into our life, because we're the vibration of the having of that, and we're vibrating at that low level and attracting more of that stuff into our life. And so to get over that, then we've got to change our story and create a more positive story for ourselves. And then when we do that, we attract more of that positive stuff into our life. So the story that you tell is your attraction. It's your vibration. And the higher your vibration, the better you're going to manifest, the more positive stuff you're going to manifest in your life. Now, some people mistake the law of attraction as meaning that if you want to be rich, then you act like a rich person and you go out and you start spending money, you maximize your credit cards and stuff like that. And that's absolutely not what it is. I mean, there's a lot of rich people that are pretty cheap with their money, and they don't spend a lot of it. So that's not necessarily what rich people do. So it's what the money will give you, and you move into that vibration that you would have if you had the money. So the freedom and the security that you wanted, you vibrate and you have freedom and security, and then the money that you wanted just starts to come to you because you're in the vibration of being able to accept that. So thanks for tuning in to Jeff's Frame of Mind. So please make comments down below and let me know what kind of revelations that you had throughout this. And give me a like, give me a thumbs up there. That would be awesome. And so yeah, any feedback that you give me so that I can make this a better program would be much appreciated. So thanks again for sticking around. And if you're interested in your own QHHT session where you too can find your purpose, your passion, and get the answer to any question that you have, contact me below, send me a personal message or make a comment, and we'll get you hooked up. So thanks again, and have yourself a good one. Stay awesome.